Hello everyone, my name's Leo with Super Tech. Got a console here that was brought to me just a few minutes ago actually. Basically it's got a white line of death to where it turns on, but there's no display. I have looked inside the HDMI port. It does look like it's actually pushed in, and I don't know if I can actually show you guys. Let's see if we can zoom in here. The port itself does look as if it was actually, it looks in good shape, but it looks like it was actually pushed in. I'm not sure if exactly that's the case, but that's what it looks like. It looks like it's too deep in, so I'm hoping that there is no torn pads within this actual PlayStation 4 Slim. I have tested that it does turn on. It does show the white light of death. That being said, we're going to go ahead and open this console up, inspect the HDMI port, and if in fact it's pushed in, we'll go ahead and get it replaced. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get this console open. First things first, we're going to remove the hard drive. Alrighty, moment of truth. Let's see what the damage is on this specific HDMI port. Let's move this out of the way. Let's clean up my area real quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and put my camera right on the HDMI port, and let's see where it's at. Scope. Do we have anything showing? Let's take a look here. I don't know if you guys can actually see that. I'm sure you can. But this HDMI port, it is definitely pushed in. Look at this. So you can see it's actually pushed in. And when I mean pushed in, I mean it's pushed in inwards. It's coming in. So if you put the HDMI cable in here, it won't be touching these pins there, to where it's not providing the video data to the HDMI port to be able to display the actual game itself. So what I'm gonna have to do is actually push this in to see if it allows me to see the pins and desolder this port. Will it let me? Let's see. I'm hoping the pins are there and none are missing. That's what I'm hoping for. And also that this chip here, which is the video chip, did not go bad. I'm also hoping that, and none of these filters here either. Alright, let's see here. There we go. Got one end, and now I'm trying to get this other end as well, and it's in there. Okay, now let's view these pads real quick. Let's see in what condition they are in. I want to make sure that there isn't any torn pads per se. There may be some torn pads. Alright, let's go ahead and get the port removed to see if there is any torn pads. Alright, first things first, what I have to do is actually, I do have my soldering irons on, my flux, and let me grab my strip of low melt solder here, my little stick. And I've got the flux here, which, first things first, let's flood this with some flux. I'm still putting low melt solder on the pins, just in case there is any, on the legs I mean, just in case there is any pins still attached to the legs. I don't want them to be torn. I will also put some on the legs of the actual port itself, some flux. So I can put some low melt solder there as well. Alright, let's turn on the fume extractor. Then I'm going to get my bigger tip for this process. It's got more heat. And let's go ahead and start putting some low melt solder. Now on the legs, I am going to keep the hot iron on them a little bit more than normal, because I want this low melt solder to actually fuse with the solder, the leaded solder that's currently on it. Alrighty, so that side's done. Let me go ahead and do this left side as well. There's hardly any flux there. We're gonna add some more flux. Alright, so we got the top portion. Let's go ahead and get the bottom legs now. And this is where I need to be careful, because we do have a small, I believe that's a diode there. A small diode. And we do not want to burn that diode or mess it up in any type of way, so You have to be very careful with the low melt solder that it doesn't get on these other components. And yes, I did flood it with a lot of flux. Want to make sure that this low melt solder does fuse with these legs of this HDMI port, which will make it easier for me to remove with less heat. Now this is where I need to be careful with these other components. Make sure that the low melt solder does not touch these components. Alrighty. Low melt solder's been added to the HDMI port. Alrighty. So we're gonna add just a tad bit more flux. We're gonna clean this off here in a little bit. And all I need is some tweezers. These are some pretty thick tweezers. I don't know if you guys can actually see that. Look at these tweezers here. Pretty thick, which I'm gonna hold this HDMI port from here. Put something here to hold the board. It allows me to pull down. And let me see. I'm going to set my hot air to 780. Actually, let's just do 720. 120 Fahrenheit and 120 airspeed. I'm actually going to lower that down to 110. And I'm going to go ahead and warm up the board a little bit. Alright, now let's go ahead and put the hot air to the legs. As you can see, the low melt solder will start melting. It's already melting. One side's out. And it's all out. Took me, what, a minute maybe? And this port is actually removed. Now let's go ahead and get this cleaned up. Or flux. Right now that it's hot. Get some of this, forgot what it's called, honestly. Some of this braided, I forgot what it's called. I know how to order it, but I completely forgot what it's called. But it's braided, which allows me to remove the solder off of where the legs were at. Same thing for the other side. And I added flux because flux attracts the solder, which then hence goes onto the braid. Alrighty. That side's clean. Now the moment of truth, we got to see if these legs are actually still there. And before I actually turn the board over to the other side, let's clean this up. Legs do seem to be there. They are there. So that's good. No torn legs. So we don't have to run any traces for this console. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and grab a new HDMI port for PS4. There we go. This is for PS4 Slim. I'm going to warm this up a little bit. We'll put the legs inside here. There's flux in the hose. Alright, let's put these legs in here. Alright, so now let me get some flux right in here. As you can see, the legs actually do line up. We're going to go ahead and get some flux in here. Get these legs with some solder, get them in there tight, and then we'll put some solder on the legs right afterwards. For this, I'm going to use my micro hot iron. Makes it easier to where the leaded solder will actually stay on the legs and not how do I explain this? Not get any oh man, my mind is literally going blank. But not get any of these legs to actually fuse together. It'll come back to me. I don't remember what the terminology is that's used. I forgot now. The terminology I'm looking for, it's still bothering me right now that I don't remember. Okay, let's go ahead and put some solder on the back legs. This light is really shiny. Let's put the right amount of flux along with some solder. For this one, I do use a bigger iron tip. There you go. Let's clean the bottom part. Alrighty, the back is clean. Now let's go ahead and finish the top portion. And we're gonna put some solder here on the legs. This is to secure the port. Alright, that end is done. Let's check this other end now. Let's put some flux. And let's put this lettuce solder. Right? Legs are secure. Now let's go ahead and check these pins out. Back to the micro. The micro iron. Let's put some flux. I'm not gonna put any solder yet on my micro iron. We're gonna see if we are able to, if the legs are actually on the pins, and if we need to add some solder, we will. Alright, let's clean this up and make sure that these legs are actually attached to the pins. Alright, so now before I do a complete cleanup, we're going to validate that these legs are actually on here pretty good. Solid. 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 I'm not going to do that for every single pin, but I'm just going to test them real quick. Yep, every single pin seems to be good. Now I'm going to use my multimeter real quick to also test to make sure that none of these pins are actually touching each other. I forgot what the terminology is called. I forgot the terminology. What is the terminology? I still can't remember. My multimeter is in diode mode, right there. Actually, unfortunately, I can't put it there because I put my arm here. I got my red probe and black probe, and we're just gonna go through each leg and just make sure that none of these are actually touching each other. If they touch each other, we'll hear this beep. That's what we don't want to hear. Good. 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 So all the pin test is successful. Let's go ahead and put the console back together and test. So we went ahead and replaced the HDMI port. Now before we do put it, let me go ahead and clean this up. Add the right amount of thermal paste. That's just enough. Alright, so for right now I'm going to test to make sure that this is going to work. So I'm not going to put the top plate just yet. But I am going to plug in these ribbon cables. And I'm going to secure the board with 2 screws temporarily. One on this end. And one on this end. And of course, we are going to put the heatsink clamps as well. These remain here anyways, whether I put the thing on or not. So we are going to put this because we don't want it to overheat. Alrighty, next thing is we are going to put the power supply. Power supply's in. Let's put the hard drive. I do want to make sure that we get a boot. Other than that, we're set. Let's go ahead and test. We will turn off the fume extractor. Let's plug in the power cable. And then we're going to plug in this HDMI and see if it'll show anything for us. Make sure I have it in there correct. Okay, it went in there just fine. Let's move my flux out of the way. Let's turn this TV on before we press the power button. We will also turn on the console here and put it on test bench 3. Console's here. And let's turn this thing on and see if it'll come up. There you go. Power button's on. You see a blue light. Let's see if we see a PS4 logo. Nothing yet. Only thing we've changed so far is the HDMI port. It did go to a white light earlier. The fan is spinning. Oh, there we go. Checking storage. And there you go, guys. We changed the HDMI port, and sure enough, we were able to get it to boot up. There you go. Console is done, fixed, and ready. Let's just validate as well that it takes a game. If I had one, I don't have one. The console is good and ready to go. For those of you watching my video, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll see you on my next video. Thanks, guys.